Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Izabet Luqman and my metric number is HFT20203. I will present about part A, which is question 1 and half of question 3. In this part, we need to randomly choose more than 50 samples. So here is 54 selected data of labor force by age group in para that we need to arrange. Then we need to construct appropriate table that can be used to describe the data. So the table that we use are frequency distribution, relative frequency, and cumulative frequency. In order to determine the class, we will use the formula 2 square k is greater than n. N is sample size, so our sample size is 54. We let k is 6, so 2 square 6 equal to 64, which is 64 is greater than 54. So our recommended number of classes is 6. Next, we have to calculate the class width. The formula is maximum entry, which is 205.7 minus by minimum entry, which is 26.9, and divide by number of classes, which is 6. So our class width is 29.8, round up to 30. Step 3, we need to set the individual class limit. For the step 4, we have to make a tally mark for each data entry in the appropriate class. And the last one is we have to make sure the number of the tally mark for a class is the frequency for that class. To find the relative frequency of a class, we have to divide the frequency by the sample size. Our frequency of first class is 9 divided by sample size, which is 54, equal to 0.17. So the total of the relative frequency is 1. The cumulative frequency of the last class is equal to the sample size n. So as you can see, our first cumulative is 9. Then for the second cumulative frequency is 20. It is because we add with frequency of first class, which is 9, with frequency of the second class, which is 11. We do the same step until we get the cumulative of the last class is equal to our sample size, which is 54.
My name is Nur Atira binti Husaini. My matrix number is H2081481. I want to present number 2, develop a suitable graphical method to represent the data. We choose a frequency polygon. A frequency polygon is a line graph that emphasizes that continuous changes in frequencies. Frequency polygon use the data of class, midpoint, and frequency. In that graph, we use a midpoint and frequency. The midpoint 11.85 have a 0 frequency. 41.85 the frequency is 9, 71.85 the frequency is 11, 101.85 the frequency is 25, which is the largest data. 131.85 frequency is not 6, 161.85 the frequency is 1, which is the lowest data. 191.85 the frequency is 2, and the last one 221.85 the frequency is 0. The second one is OGIF. OGIF is a line graph that displays the cumulative frequency of each at its upper class boundaries. Upper class boundaries for 56.85 have a 9 frequency, 86.85 the frequency is 11, 116.85 the frequency is 25, which is the largest. Next, 146.85 the frequency is 6, 176.85 the frequency is 1, which is the lowest, and the last one is 206.85 the frequency is 2.
Next, I will continue the presentation about the measures of central tendency and measures of variation. Measures of central tendency is a value that represents the center of our distribution, and this is the table to refer to calculate the 3 most commonly used measures of tendency, which is mean, median, and mode. To calculate mean, we have to multiply the frequency with the midpoint. The total of fx must be divided by n, so our mean is the total of fx 5049.9 divided by n, 54 equal to 93.52. To calculate median, we must use this formula, which is lower class boundary of median class plus the total of sample size divided by 2 minus the cumulative frequency before median class, divide by frequencies of median class and multiply with class width. So our median is 95.05. To calculate the mode, we have to use the formula, which is need to add the lower class boundary of the model class with the total of changes 1 divided by the total of changes in 1 plus changes in 2 and multiply with the class width. So our mode is 99.51. There are three parameters that are used to quantify the amount of variation in a set of random variables, which is range, variance, and standard deviation. So this slide shows how to calculate the range. We have to minus the maximum entry, which is 205.7, with minimum data entry, which is 26.9. So our range is 178.8. For the sample variance, we have to use the formula, which is 1 divided by n minus 1 multiplied with the total of summation of fx2 minus by summation of fx squared 2 divided by n. So our sample variance is 1202.83. Then we square root the amount of sample variation to get the sample standard deviation, which is 34.68. That is all from me. Thank you.
Measures of position. A measure of position determines the position of a single value in relation to other values in a sample or population data set and is a method for identifying a position of a specific data value within a given data set. Step 1. Q1 n divided by 4, so 54 divided by 4 equal to 13.5. The class interval is 56.9 until 86.8. For the Q3, 3n divided by 4, so 3 times 54 divided by 4 equal to 40.5. The class interval is 86.9 until 116.8. Step 2. Q1, FQ1 plus n divided by 4 minus f divided by FQ1 times c. So Q1 15.6.85 plus 13.5 minus 9 divided by 11 times 30 equal to 69.12. For the Q3, LQ3 plus 3n divided by 4 minus f divided by FQ1 times c. So Q3 86.85 plus 40.5 minus 20 divided by 25 times 30 equal to 111.45. So Q3 minus Q1 111.45 minus 69.12 equal to 42.33. Determine the shape of data distributions. Hence, the shape of the data distribution is skewed to the left since the mean is smaller than the median and the median is smaller than the mode. Mean equal to 93.52, median equal to 95.5, mode equal to 99.51.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, my name is Nasrin Nadira binti Muhammad Zuki and my metric number is H20A1334. Right now, I want to present to all of you my part, which is part B. The question for this part is we need to find one set of data that have independent variable and one dependent variable. For this question, I need to find one data that have one dependent variable and one independent variable. I choose the data that stated about student attitudes and also their learning outcomes for this question. So you can see the data here. X is the independent variable, which is students' attitudes, and y is dependent variable, which is their learning outcomes. This is the secondary data. I take this data from Google. Nowadays, Google Internet Survey has become a popular method of getting any information. That's all from me, and I will let the next member from my group to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Surya Atika binti Samsuri. My metric number is H20A1827. I will continue. Question number 3 is compute the person's product moment correlation confidence. Then explain the value option. That is, the table X is the number of student attitude. Y is the number of learning outcomes. I will tell the total sum of the number of student attitude and the number of learning outcomes. X square, Y square, and XY. The total of X is 3175. Total of Y is 2444. Total of X square is 34,207. Total of Y square is 203,538, and the total of XY is 261,303. The total number of learning outcome from 82 students attitude is 130 and is 2,444. The total option by adding the total number of learning outcomes. The total number of XY is option by multiplying the number of student attitude and a number of learning outcomes.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Ainu Natasha binti Masais. My metric number is H20A1071. Next, we find the Pearson correlation coefficient. This calculation is taken from the sum of XY. X is number of student attitudes, Y is number of learning outcomes, and the sum of X squared then Y squared. The results of the calculation yields a sum of 0.37. There is a moderate positive correlation at 0.37 between X and Y.
Hi, my name is Nur Atira binti Hazman and my metric number H20A1480. So, in part B, I will proceed to explain the last part, which is estimate a regression equation from the data we studied. Before that, I will go through regression in a little more detail. What is regression? Regression is a statistical method used in finance, investing, and other disciplines that attempts to determine the strength and character of the relationship between one dependent variable and a series of other variables. So, we only need to follow this formula to determine the regression equation. First, we must find B1 and then we must find B0. As you can see, all we have to do to get B1 is enter the value from the table that we manually calculate. After that, we may compute and find that the total B1 is 0.39. After that, we'll go on to B0. We do get the answer. B0 is 0.2 by following the same steps as before, using the formula and calculating. For the conclusion, slope equal to 0.39. That means the students' attitudes is an increase because the total number of students will increase by about 0.39. And for the constant equal to 40.2. That means when the number of the students' attitudes is 0, the number of total number learning outcome is 40.2. That's all from us. Thank you.